Hello, and welcome to another episode of NinjaBraap. Thank you again for joining me, and be sure to like and subscribe. Today we're going to be installing some preload adjusters on a 2016 Yamaha R3. So join me and I'll show you how to install preload adjusters. Before you begin, you'll need a way to raise the front forks off the ground, such as a triple tree stand like this one here. It should be noted that the preload adjusters we'll be installing are designed for standard forks and not upside down forks. I'll explain the difference in another video, but let's continue with the install. You'll need a large socket wrench, an appropriate socket for the bike you'll be working with. For the R3, it's 22mm socket like the one here. You'll also need a socket wrench and appropriate hex bits, a marker, and shop towels, fork oil for the thread and seal lube, and thread locker. I highly recommend blue as it's easier to remove. Some other tools you may need are a large crescent wrench and appropriate sized sockets for the preload adjustment. Once you have all of the tools necessary, the preload adjusters and the forks raised off the ground so the front wheel spins freely, it's time to prep the preload adjusters for install. It should be noted that you may need aftermarket handlebars depending on your bike. The preload adjusters we'll be installing today I bought on eBay. You can buy preload adjusters from many places, but I've used these and similar quality adjusters not just on the street but for racing. Some bikes don't have many options, unfortunately, if at all, for sources and different qualities, and as such you may only find them on eBay or Amazon from an overseas source. In order to prep these, it requires applying thread lock to the screw that holds the spring compression plate onto the adjuster. This will prevent the screw from coming loose and falling into the bottom of the fork due to the vibrations of the bike. Once the screw is threaded and locked, back out the adjuster all the way, as you can see here. Next, mark the handlebars if necessary for accurate reinstallation. This is only for aftermarket handlebars in most cases. Then loosen and or remove all bolts securing the handlebar and remove the handlebar. Using the appropriate socket and long wrench, remove the OEM fork caps. It may take a bit of force to break them free. Once they spin freely, keep pressure on the head of the socket in order to prevent the cap from flying off once it's unthreaded. Carefully remove the cap and place it aside. Using a clean shop towel, clean out the threads. Using fork oil, lube the bottom of the threads and O-ring on the adjuster. Then carefully insert and thread the adjuster into the fork. It will take a bit of force and patience to correctly thread the adjuster. Be careful to avoid cross-threading. Once threaded, use a large crescent wrench to carefully thread and tighten the adjuster fully onto the fork. You may need a good amount of force to apply the final torque and seat the adjuster. Once tightened, clean up any oil, dirt, or grime around the fork. Once the adjuster is secured, reinstall the handlebar onto the fork. Be sure to align to your markings if need be. Apply equal torque gradually to all securing bolts so as not to strip them and still maintain proper grip on the fork. Once the handlebar is fully installed, be sure to test it thoroughly for any sign of slipping. Repeat this process on the other fork and adjuster. Once everything is installed, remove your alignment marks if necessary. Then, using a socket wrench, fully extend the preload adjustment until it comes to a stop. Don't apply heavy force in doing this. If the adjuster holds, back out the adjustment again until it stops. Again, don't apply heavy force in doing this. Carefully remove the triple tree stand and set the front wheel back on the ground, checking to ensure the adjusters don't come loose. Once the bike is fully on the ground, it's time to test everything. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please show your support on Patreon to help make future videos better and more possible.